Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate. It's very much an honor to have everybody come here to our event here. Like JB said, I'm Wes Crook. I'm the CEO of FP Block. We've been in the game since 2012. We were some of the original Haskellers of the world, and we have been in this space of Web3 since 2017. For the folks that don't know who we were the original auditors of Cardano. We were the original auditors of the Swirls public protocol for Hedera. We've about 110 projects to our name in the Web3 space. And what we have realized over the last several years is we have a really bright community of people, but we're not attracting users to the space. And for us to be successful as an industry, we have to have users. And we have to flip this script of ecosystem, paying builders to pay users to come use the applications and not really focus on the user experience. Because without the users, we have no mass adoption. Without the users, and the consistency of standards at the infrastructure level, we will not get the enterprises. When I hear people talk about, oh, we have this big app with 1 million users, that's not a big app, folks. Facebook has 800 million users. That's real applications, and that's what we strive for at FP Complete. We built a framework called Colme out of our desire to help CEOs and founders solve this problem of which chain do I have to pick to go build, and then they go build on Polygon, and then 3 years later it's like, well, damn, I got to move it to Solana. Well, they don't have the funds to go move to Solana. So what we found, in our work, which is about 80% what we call rescue work, where a founder or a CEO has built a product, tried to launch the product, the MVP didn't go well, or it's very kludgy or clunky or unsecure. We come in and re-architect, rebuild, and deploy. And we come from a position of security first. So we bring our enterprise experience into this space, so this is how you need to build. Testing, how many people test their apps in this space, truly test their apps in this space? Not very many. I can tell you that from experience. So what we're doing as a company is putting forward a Colme framework to help show the industry we need to not keep competing with all these ecosystems, but we need to have a consolidation into one set of standards, one set of infrastructure, one set of rules of the highway that we can all go build to. And once we can do that, then we can bring in the mass adoption that we're looking for into this space and the real money that will come into this space, than other than the token grants and all that stuff that's going on with the meme coins. So, that's what we do. We're engineering first, 45 engineers, 5 continents. All we really care about is building great software. We're not into the marketing hype, except for JB, who's my CMO and does a great job. And then we have a great support team in Genzia. I want to thank Kara for putting us all together for us. It's a very nice job. Thank you very much. Zach and his team do a great job. Luna PR does a great job for us for public relations. With that, so we're going to have 3 panels tonight. Zach's going to be running the hosting, and hopefully we'll have some good conversations around various interoperability, stable coins. How do we go from here? How do we start companies in the Web3 space and succeed? So Zach, it's all up to you.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. Let's give it up for Wes, one of the smartest people I know, and honestly, it's a lot of work that he does, and the amount of projects that have been launched because of him and his amazing team is utterly fantastic. I appreciate everybody coming here today. We're going to have a series of panels for everybody here. We're going to be going over a lot of things from AI to what's happening in Web3, the challenges of building a company, which we all here are probably entrepreneurial, and we all are trying to face similar challenges. So hopefully you can get some alpha out of this. You can really learn from the experience of the people on the panels. So I appreciate everybody for coming. So we're gonna kick it off with panel 1 here. So if you're in the first panel, please come up on stage. All right, so panel 1 is building on blockchain challenges and solutions. So before we kick it off, if we could have just a quick intro from the panelists. I'll start. We all know Wes, and I'll pass it off to you. If you want to do a quick introduction, your name, the company you're with, and your position.
Sure thing. Hi everybody, my name is Bryn. I'm a partner at Hacken, and I advise our clients and our ecosystem on matters of cybersecurity and compliance.
Hey guys, my name is Manu, and I'm one of the co-founders of Perspective AI. We're a decentralized AI marketplace that enables anybody to use, create, and profit from AI.
Hello, I am Felipe Donofrio. I am CTO and co-founder of Bricken. Bricken is a tokenization platform.
All right, question one. What do you see as the biggest barrier for builders trying to build on blockchain today? What's a big barrier that they have? And I'll start it off with Wes.
Thanks. Well, from our perspective, the biggest barrier to entering into blockchain is what blockchain? Which one are you going to go to? Which one are you going to pick? Which one are you going to learn? There's infinite number of blockchains. Solana, Near, Sway, Aptos, Polygon. Pick one. As a builder, as an application developer, that is the most critical decision in our space today, which it shouldn't be. But to me, that's one of the biggest challenges that we have in this space.
Yeah, I think I'll add to that budgeting effectively is one of the biggest blockers I see in startups getting to mainnet, especially for cybersecurity. Like Web3 projects tend to spend way less than traditional businesses on this stuff. And as well on the compliance side, the burden now, especially here in Europe, is it's very expensive to actually be compliant with all of the regulations that have been brought in over the last years. So I think that now is the biggest barrier, certainly.
Yeah, maybe I'll add how convoluted and complex it can be, right? Especially if you're not coming from Web3. So I come from a Web2 iOS app development background, and building on Apple is, it's super streamlined, documentation's amazing, but when it comes to Web3, it's so convoluted, it's so hard, and I think we should simplify that. We should work on that.
And before we do that, I forgot to do this a second time. And make sure to just eat the mic, guys. That's the best advice I've ever heard. Eat the mic. If you want to do a quick intro on yourself as well, like your name, obviously, what project you're with.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I'm Manu, and I'm part of Perspective AI. We're a decentralized AI marketplace, enables anybody to use, create, and profit from AI. And what does that mean, right? It actually is something, it's a product that looks very much like what you're already using, so ChatGPT, Claude, except you've got all the foundational models, you've got fine-tuned Hugging Face models, and then a consumer agent layer on top, so you can go in there and create agents on top of all of this.
Okay, I don't know if somebody hear me.
That's for you.
It's okay?
Yeah.
All right. So I think the most difficult thing to develop applications on the blockchain is to create user-friendly applications for our clients. We have been working on EVM for many years now, and it's hard in the case of RWA to have a framework where you can implement all the constraints that need for the financial system, the permissions, the blacklisting, the etc. that make that very hard, as it's not has been built for that from the beginning as the EVM. So all these blockchains has been developed from the developer side, and then we start using it and implement it for our client side. So we have to keep working on this, keep working on different tools that help developers to provide a great user experience and provide the needs for and provide what we need for these industries now. So I will resume that.
Well, thank you guys for sharing your perspective here. Obviously, there's always going to be some mic issues, but I hope everyone can hear us okay. If these mics were on Colme or Perspective, we wouldn't have these problems. Let's put these mics on chain, okay? Let's go. How do you think the developer experience in Web3 compares to Web2 right now?
I think a lot of the folks in the Web3, if you look at the Web2 space, it's a much more mature developer environment. Web3, we see, and I've been around for way too long, but we see a lot of young folks that have come into this space. They're brilliant people. they're really aspirational, but they don't understand how to build software. They just, they can build really cool things, but they don't know how to industrialize it, take a security approach to it, and deliver it. So, taking, traditional software development lifecycle, how do you go about architecting? How do you go about, requirements definitions? Don't even get started on the go-to-market and everything around that and how many times they miss that mark all the time. But, from a software developer standpoint, Web3 needs to mature. We need to grow up and start writing software like you do at an enterprise level to draw the enterprise to us.
Yeah, I think one phenomenon that we've noticed over the past year or so is that there's a real over-reliance by blockchain developers on AI tools. Like vibe coding smart contracts is just not feasible right now. These LLMs simply can't do it. They often use like ancient versions of Solidity, for example, or known issues and vulnerabilities get pasted into the code. Documentation gets deleted. There's no testing often. Just having a good approach to that stuff in the beginning, like documenting everything that you do effectively, making sure you've got, as you mentioned, your testing environment set up and good testing in place. It's going to save time and money when you come to get audits done and go to market in the end.
All right, it sounds like this mic is the one that's working the best, so we're just going to pass this one.
I think maybe the only thing that I would add there is the word that comes to my mind when I think of Web3 software development is convoluted, right? So it became cool to use terminology and complex ways of describing something that you could say simple, right? So I think we need to kind of bring that back and just dial that back and just keep it simple and make it easy for all the Web 2 developers to onboard. You don't have to make it so complicated. You don't have to call it acronyms that are, just keep it simple.
Right. Well, everyone said very cool things. I think for the Web3 to go as Web2, we did a little bit more of time too, and the perspective from this has been built from the developer side, so they like all that stuff, and the Web2 was in the other side in some way. But I think the developers are still working on creating the tools and layers over the actuals or the already established blockchains to make it easier. Right now it's much more easier to build on Web3 than 2 years ago or even 1 year ago. So it's going super fast, and they're the options at the moment. So let's keep working on communities, grow the communities to help each other on build good programs, and keep working on different things that will help to the user experience to be able to interact as is on the Web 2. I think all these wallet abstractions is going very well, MPC wallets, all these tools are helping on the user that don't want to sign 10 transactions, what is my, store my private key. All of that is a lot of friction on the process to onboard users. So I think it's keep working on that. I think Web3 is still, baby steps now.
I think Wes is going to like this next question. What type of infrastructure would make it easier for developers to build in Web3? It's a little softball here.
Yeah, well, obviously, Colme, from our standpoint, framework, but I'm not even trying to drive Colme. We believe it's an open source tool set that we've done. Our whole vision is we need common infrastructure. We got, if you ask me my opinion, in 5 years, all the chains we talk about today won't exist. They'll be the Earthlinks and the AOLs of the world. We're going to have a Netscape moment. We're going to have a Steve Jobs moment. We're going to have a Bill Gates moment where somebody's going to come out with something so evolutionary and revolutionary that the whole industry will move that way. You talk to all the chains, they think they're the solution of the future. There are specialty needs in certain chains, but at the end of the day, for this to be successful long term and taking this great technology called blockchain and leveraging it into enterprise use, we have to have a common set of standards. We have to have a common set of rails, and we have to be able to everybody know exactly what they're doing, and there's not all these little odd twists and turns, around Solana versus Near versus Ethereum, and have to be, small experts in these things. We just need one simple infrastructure. If you look at the world, I started my career in 1985, so I've been around a while. This looks exactly like the world did in 1986. You had to pick your company. You were an IBM guy, you were a DEC guy, you were a Wayne guy, you were a Wise guy, you were an Apollo guy. There was no interoperability. You had to go their route. It was their security, it was their protocols. And then somebody invented this little thing called DOS and this computer called an IBM PC. And then everybody said, well, why can't my DEC talk to my mainframe? Vice versa. And then all of a sudden we got into distributed computing and then client-server computing, and then here we are. The whole internet thing came along. So I see we're on the same hype curve that we were in the 80s, same as we were in the 90s. We're just about, we're still going up the ladder, so to speak, but we're about to go over the top soon.
Awesome. I'm going to go on a different angle and talk about team and operational security. I think over 80% of the successful cyber attacks right now on crypto projects are basically social engineering, phishing, access control theft. Just having a good policy within your company, making sure your Google Drive, for example, is locked down and folks all over the internet can't access internal documents. Making sure you've got good recruitment policy, your background checking potential developers that might join your team. We've seen in many cases North Korean hackers have been hired as devs in projects, and often they'll sit there for 6 months and wait until they've got a good opportunity to steal, a lot of money. There are frameworks that exist for this kind of stuff in the Web 2 world, like ISO 27001, for example, SOC 2. This kind of stuff can be applied to crypto companies. It should be applied to crypto companies. And definitely every founder that's in the room should be thinking about this stuff and going through their team and their operations, making sure devices for work and personal use are separated. This kind of stuff is super important now.
Yeah, everybody watch out for the North Koreans getting into your company. Come on.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can add any more other than what these two gents just said. I totally agree. So, yeah.
Well,
Keep your mouth shut if you have nothing else to add.
it's fair. I think the infrastructure for the future must be based on interoperability because, for example, for RWA, the tokenization landscape, everything is like in different vaults, like different blockchains, different standards, different wallets. So it's like very dispersed everywhere. So that affects directly the liquidity available for these projects and to be take seriously for the liquidity perspective in that side. I think the work that has been performed to bridge between change and to be able to communicate in between them and make it more easier, the transfer of these assets, is the step ahead and will be, what everyone started looking for, like interoperability and define the standards and everyone in their verticals to work on that standards and be able to work together, work in a cooperative way and not in a competition in that sense, because we are very small compared with other industries on tech, and we still need to work on this together. So I think the interoperability is something very important at the moment.
Yeah, interoperability is actually the name of the game for the next question here. So how important is interoperability for the success of blockchains? Because as Wes mentioned and others, a lot of people are building in silos right now. They choose a blockchain, they stick with it, they run with it for better or worse. But how important is interoperability for blockchains? I got a little buzzer here. I don't know what that was.
We were on a roll with you first. I think it's,
So interoperability is, if we don't solve the problem, we won't be an industry. I mean, we cannot continue down the path we're going as an industry where we have all these silos, and everybody's picking the chain of choice of the week, and it really is boiling down to who has the deepest pockets for marketing, not tech, not, anything else. It's like, who can they bribe the most to get the most attention? So if we don't get to common infrastructure, we will not succeed as an industry, and that's the most important thing for us. We were talking just on the last question before, talking about SOX 2 and all that. You got to have users. If you don't have users, you have no income, and we don't have users in this space. I was sitting there talking. We were talking earlier. The lady and I were talking earlier about Cardano. Hey, great, $500 million in the treasury, but they have like 5 users in the whole space, and I can say that because I audited them. So it's we got to build things that people want and drive the revenue in. I'm getting buzzed off. Oh, somebody wants in. And so we're building things people need to drive users who drive revenue. Because to do all the things we want to do, I've done SOX 2. That cost a lot of money to do. To have a proper testing regime cost a lot of money to do. To have a proper architecture team costs a lot of money to do. And if you don't have revenue, you're not going to get there. And getting the big money investors in the door to give you the ability to do that, you got to show them the roadmap that I will have these users because it's not the tech they're buying, it's the profitability. How will I get to revenue? How will I make money and do that? And once we can show interoperability across the board and we have a common framework, then we can get back to building applications that users actually want instead of kind of playing around in the ecosystems on, ecosystem of the month.
I think you're absolutely right. I think developers need to be aware when they're integrating new blockchains or new tech stacks that that does introduce new vulnerabilities, and we see quite often as well that there'll be a successful product, they'll get a lot of TVL, have some good traction, good marketing, all that kind of stuff, and then they'll start launching new features. They won't get them audited in the same with the same thorough approach that they did in the beginning. And eventually it gets wrecked, and all the community trust is gone at that point. Yeah, it's very hard to recover from this type of incident. There's very few successful recoveries, and I feel like trust is the most important thing in this space. Community trust, investor trust, trust in the product. Like, teams need to be considerate when they're planning this stuff out. Don't just try and integrate every chain in one go. It's not possible. It needs to be planned properly, tested properly, battle tested on mainnet. Definitely interoperability comes with some security concerns.
As a Web3 degen, right? I get it. I see all the chains and it's cool. But if you see this from a Web2 perspective, it's actually silly. It's quite silly. And I was recently onboarding my mother to Coinbase, right? And she was having to choose USDC on the different. She's like, "What is this? This is horrible." And I thought for a second there. I was like, "Yeah, it is. It's so silly. It shouldn't be like that, right? It needs to be abstracted away, and it should be super simple."
All right. Well, interoperability, right? Again. So. Yeah. At the end, I think all these craziness about creating all these public blockchains, like for many years, a lot of money go there instead of going for interconnecting what I already have and creating applications over what it was. So the path is still working on creating products and tools and frameworks that help on creating a better blockchain and railways to work, and be aware of all the ecosystem at the moment as it needs to be taken in consideration, and how to interconnect between them, between the standards, between the wallets, between the tools that we already have. I think the users that we have at the moment are these believers, or these geeks, etc. But yeah, we need your mother use Web3. My mother already used Web3, but he lives in Venezuela, so he needs to use it. And that is one of the things that people is lazy to learn these things. So we need to make it easier and keep working on integrating the change and the tools in, and try to, because it's not only the blockchains, no, it's too that the languages, different languages, different stacks. So I think this is gonna keep for a while until we see what is the winner. But yeah, and we have to be or be conscious that if something is not working, you need to change it. So if the language is not the good one, something better is there. So it's something about the ego too, about this is the best blockchain or this is the best language, etc. So we need to keep working on that. So to add to my previous about the interoperability.
Thank you. And I think the next question speaks to the heart of why a lot of us are here is education, right? It's really hard to teach people about blockchain because you start teaching them with acronyms that they've never heard of, like what the hell is an NFT or DeFi or a stable coin, or you talk about fiat and they're like, what do you mean, like the car? So people get confused very quickly about the different aspects of Web3, and education continues to be kind of a sore thumb overall. Like, how do we teach people who aren't in this space about it and get over the is crypto a scam sort of factor, which is, I'm sure everyone here has been asked that question when you're trying to teach someone about crypto and Web3. So my next question is, how do we educate people in a way that makes it easy for them to understand, and why is education in crypto so hard?
That's a good question. I think it is because, for educating people in this space, we need to simplify the space. Again, too many chains, too many abstractions, too many, scams, whatever you want to call it, people don't understand the dynamics. We need to separate blockchain technology from all the other nonsense that's out there. Crypto and coins and BTC and all that is not the technology. That's a marketing game over here. And then you have the true technology, which is blockchain. And, educating people on what blockchain technology is very simple because it's a distributed ledger. It's very easy. But we wrap so much of this other noise around it, it gets lost. I had somebody ask me the other day, it's like, so you guys are out scamming and rug pulling everybody. It's like, I could care less about tokens. I could care less about BTC. I could care less about all that mess. I like the technology because it provides me a very secure environment to build software because it's an open ledger. And, when you explain what blockchain does, oh, they get it. It's there. It's just all this other noise. It's like, it's inferior but marketable. It's just like throw more money at the marketing, throw more stuff out there so people get lost in that hype. Nowadays with all the social media, anybody can hop on TikTok or whatever and, spout their view and just really confuse everybody. So from an education perspective, we need to separate the noise from the technology. If you want to go do the hedging and the stuff like that and the trading, go for it. That's a whole different animal. But separate that from the technology and then educate the technology. That's what I would see how we kind of simplify this thing.
Yeah, I get a lot of folks coming up to me at conferences, particularly students, and asking, how do I become an auditor? And I always say to them, in that game, you need to build up a reputation. It's all about trust again. Yep. And I say to them, the best way to do that is to do as many bug bounty competitions as you can. Yep. Like, we have over 200 programs live right now on Hack and Proof. Go there, try and find some exploits, try and get to the top of the table, win a load of money as well. And then just do like as many hackathons as possible as well. I was in Token 2049 a couple of weeks ago, and one project, Akindo, introduced me to this concept of a buildathon, where it's like a hackathon, but the prizes that are distributed over time, so it motivates the devs to keep building and keep shipping along these milestones. I think that's a great approach rather than just having this one-time distribution and then bye-bye. Do you ever get to mainnet with that kind of approach? So I would recommend anyone in the room that wants to start doing the work that my colleagues do, to start with bug bounties and then go from there.
Yeah, when you said the question, the first thing that came to my mind actually is the products is what need to be simplified, because when was the last time that you had to be educated about an Apple product, right? When was the last time you took a course on how to use the App Store, right? that's where crypto products need to get, right? And like you said, I'll echo something you said earlier. The blockchain is extremely powerful, right? But we just need to deliver the value to the user. They don't need to know what's going on, right? When was the last time you were looking at a web page and then did research on HTTPS? Like, no.
So you did my answer, man. Yeah, totally true. Totally true.
Keep them coming.
Yeah, is this about the education? This depends, as Brim says, we have to educate developers. I think there is many resources for education for developers outside there, much easier than 20, 30 years ago, right? That's super hard in your times when you start. Yeah, of course. Now you have everything at your hand. But for educated users, I totally agree with you. We don't need to educate the users because it's like we have to educate you how to use your credit card because your credit card go to these servers and make that many transactions per second and go worldwide, etc., etc. But that is the pitch that we do with our users. Like, this is the best blockchain. We have that many transactions per second. They don't care about that. So I think everything resumes to the user experience. Make the user experience so easy that it's like go to your bank application and use it. Or my daughter using YouTube. She doesn't even know how to read, but know how to skip the ads. So super easy, right? So I hope that sooner than later we get some user experience like that on Web3.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much to our panelists. If you're in the audience, thank you for listening. This is going to be online as well. Everyone take a couple minutes, get another drink. If there's some food going around, enjoy it. Say what's up to JB. He's the man. And yeah, we'll be back in about 10 or 20 minutes for the next panel. So thank you, and please give it up for our panelists here.